Hi there, I'm John Sanders and I run the Academy of Quality Music Tuition based in the UK. I believe I'm quite a unique teacher in the fact that I don't teach music, but I'm a very successful music teacher. Sounds strange, doesn't it? But the bottom line is, teaching people music, I think, has always been done the wrong way round. We always kind of start off by learning to read the dots or read music, where really we should be thinking about speaking the language of music. Let's face it, when we start off as a child, we don't learn to read things first. We get to that stage quite some time later. For example, in maybe the first 3.5 years of our life, we learn by mimicking other people. People who are better at doing or speaking the language than we are. And by about the age of 3.5 to 4, we can hold a really good conversation with people. People who've been doing it for a really long time. And we can absolutely and utterly hold our own. Yet in music it's done the other way around. And now that, I think, is a big problem. People are learn to speak and read the dots first. And that is a bit of a restriction, because I've seen so many musicians who are brilliant at reading the dots, but when you shut the book they can't play anything at all. Yes, they have a reasonable technical command of the instrument, but they're not really speaking the language of music. What I think about is quite unique about the way I teach is that I get people to speak music from day one, and that means I get them to play music with me. I happen to play several instruments, amongst them bass guitar, saxophone, clarinet, electric guitar, Native American flute, Irish whistles. Okay, but that's fairly irrelevant. I am a musician who uses those as my tools to perform. I also make sure that I am not instrument prejudiced, so I treat every instrument exactly the same. I love playing music. I love, very much so, teaching music, but I really want people to speak music, and that's vital. When you don't learn to speak it and only read it, you don't really understand the language. Let's take you back to day one when you did start speaking your language. Irrelevant of which language it is, you started mimicking people around you. Maybe your parents, maybe friends, maybe family, maybe people you came into contact with, but you started speaking it and using it in context of what was happening around you. And that's brilliant. That's a brilliant way to communicate, to learn, and to absorb and produce a language. The reading of it came in much later, and that's why I firmly believe we do it the wrong way around as musicians. So what I do, I basically get musicians to play music. And a couple of the first questions always asked with a new student is, what do I do? What do I do? And I just say, just make a note, make a noise on your instrument. Because like in any language, music has 3 elements. And those 3 elements are a sound. Now a sound on its own, like in a language, doesn't produce a language. So if I said to you, ah, 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 you'd think I was crazy. I'm sure you would. That's not a language. That's just part of a language. To start to get it into a language, we have to have a rhythm of some sort. Same in music. So, let's give a rhythm to that. Ah, 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 ah. Still think I'm crazy? Watch this space. Okay, so the next thing is, and final thing, is to add a harmonic content to that. And harmonic content is like when we learn to speak a language. We say other words. So, a cat sat on the mat. Now you see there was a kind of rhythm to that. A cat sat on the mat. Da 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 da. Okay? And there's our rhythm and our harmonic content. The three things that we have in music. So when you first produce a sound, we have to put a rhythm to it, and that's what I get players to do. I get them to put a rhythm to that sound. It's vital that they do that. Once you've got that rhythm, then we can start adding other sounds, and it's irrelevant what those other sounds are at the moment. Let's face it, when we started first speaking language, we didn't run over to a book and look for the right words to use when somebody asked us a question. Of course we didn't. We just improvised. We just made it up. And if we didn't get it right, it didn't matter. People understood what we were trying to say. So, to speak a language really well, we have to use improvisation, because we've been doing it from day one. Most people say to me when I'm doing a music lesson, "Oh, I can't do improvisation, I've never done that." Well, that's totally untrue, because every single person on this planet has been improvising since the day that they were born. Absolutely. Because we don't plan exactly what we're going to do every single moment of the day. Of course we don't. We improvise it. We turn corners. We have to change things on the spur of the moment. And that's what we should be doing right at the beginning of playing music. If we don't do that and just start reading music straight away, all we're doing is interpreting what somebody else has done before. Yes, we might have a great teacher who has a great grasp of how the notes should sound and the dynamics and everything like that. And yes, I do that as well, but at a much, much later stage. We've got to learn to speak the language of music first. That's absolutely vital as far as I'm concerned. That's why I think I have a new, unique way of teaching. It's a fun way of teaching. I get people playing right from day one. And then at a later stage, we get to look at reading at music. But if players don't want to learn to read music, that's also fine. Remember, in the world, there's many, many, many brilliant musicians who don't read a single note. And how have they been able to play without reading notes? It seems crazy, doesn't it? But they can. Which proves that you don't really need to learn to read music if you don't want to play brilliant music. Here's a fantastic example for you. The wonderful Allan Holdsworth, a fantastic guitarist, composer and just brilliant musician all round, recently passed sadly away. He didn't read a single note of music. Now let's just think about that a second. How was he able to do that? Well, he was doing exactly the same as we do when we speak a language. He listened, he heard what he liked, he got rid of what he didn't like, he sorted it out and made it into his style of music, and that's why he was totally unique. He's just an example. There have been many great musicians like that. Many, many great musicians who don't read a single note. And yet there are many brilliant musicians who read notes wonderfully. Jean-Marie Londieu, the great saxophonist, was a superb sight reader. Great musician. Yet he was able to communicate superbly well without his instrument used for reading the dot. We have to remember that music is a language, and first and foremost, to communicate in a language, we have to use that language. If we want to learn French, for example, what's the best way to do it? Learn it off a learning record or a tape or something? Absolutely not. The best way to learn a language is go and live in that country or live around people who speak that language in everyday use. You are then forced to learn to use that language and use it in context, real life context. So we should be doing that as musicians. To become a great musician, we have to have great ears, and to be able to speak to other people, we have to have great ears. We have to be able to listen. We have to be able to absorb. Music is all about listening. So when I teach, I get people to listen. Okay, this is just a little example of what I do. Hope you've enjoyed it. And my name is John Sanders. I run the Academy of Quality Music Tuition, based in the United Kingdom. Have a look at my website if you want more information, and have a look at the feedback from students. In other words, the students' comment section. I'm a unique teacher, and I want to be able to share what I do with many, many people. Thank you for letting me speak to you, and hope to speak to you soon. Take care. Bye bye.